Hi, I'm Dennis Gage. Thanks for tuning in to My Classic Car, home of the certified car nut. Well, this week we're in San Juan, Capistrano, California to visit with my good buddy Mark Morton and check out a few of the cars in his collection. Now, Mark's got a lot of really cool cars, but I think he's got a particularly good eye for customs, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Check these babies out. I love it. Well, Mark, you got so many cool cars. You know, you got traditional hot rods, you got the true classics and stuff, but it looks like today it's customs.
Yeah.
It's custom day at the Morton Ranch. Let's start here since we're standing by the Merc. Where'd you have this built?
The car was done entirely in Tulsa, so I kind of did it remote control.
Wow, that can be sticky.
Well, it could be, but it sure wasn't in this case.
Wow, that's
It was
great.
a great collaboration. Real talented young men over there did all the paint, bodywork, top chop, upholstery, and everything.
It is, of course, the chop on this car that sets it off. And this does not look like an easy car to chop.
Well, I don't think it is. That's why I think so few of them are chopped. And then hundreds of hours in stainless steel work.
Yeah, I mean, it's because I think the other thing about this is it really looks like it came this way.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everything is brought back in this like it came from the factory looking this way.
The window would have come all the way back to here. I think they put in a 6-inch piece here to fill that in. The top was altered by the correct amount, which I think it was 2 or 3 inches to make it fit right.
Well, even your trim pieces, though, I mean, these two look like they were factory made for this, you know, this as she sits.
Thank you, because that was the goal. These pieces were made from, I guess, what was originally 8 pieces, because there's an interior piece as well. So it took 2 to make this one, 2 to make this one, 2 to make each of the other 2. And it took a lot of real handcraft and fabricating work to make those things look like that. And we think the illusion is a perfectly shrunk illusion of that big panel that was on a stock
it
Merc.
is perfect. And I would say the same is really true of your skirts.
The skirts are made up of a couple of pairs of custom stock skirts and custom skirts.
They look great. 54 taillights, but you've, removed the backup lights? Or
There were backup lights there to start with, and this was a Charlie Edwards trick that I wanted to employ. So they had to shorten this bezel by the height of the backup light, and then do the sheet metal repair down in here to make this body rather than light. And we think it's a real slick aesthetic compared to the original.
Interior-wise, though, you've kept a very, traditional look to this, too. I mean, very much a late 50s custom look.
That was the goal, too. It was to have a traditional tuck and roll, not too gaudy.
Love the piping, the white piping on the black carpets.
Yeah, we had some dissension on that. We had to go to the archives to prove to our talent that all of the notorious customs of the era had the white serging on the carpets.
And those slider controls there, just below the speedometer, are just so space age looking. I mean, it's a transporter room with a Starship Enterprise or something.
It looks like something to pull when you're launching, doesn't it?
And I mean, is this baby a 3 on the tree?
3 on a tree with OD. You'll see that in a minute.
Oh man! So did you do the same thing? Did you keep the original engine in the car?
Yeah, the engine's a stock displacement 54 Merc.
And there she is.
Yep.
I love engine bays that you got room to work in. Right. I mean, you can almost stand in there actually to do what you got to do. But that looks right to me. I mean, I like the Thunderbird valve covers, but I like seeing the correct engine in it.
Yeah, well, we wanted this to be a 54 Mercury custom experience. And about the only way to do that would be to stick with the same running gear, so the sound would be the same and the power would be the same, and every gear change would be a reenactment.
Well, gorgeous car, show car looking, but is it one you drive?
We drive it when we feel like it, which is pretty regularly.
You feel like it today?
How about you drive it?
How about I do? All right.
Let's go.
Welcome back to My Classic Car. So, Mark, how did you get into this whole thing? Have you been a car guy your whole life?
Pretty much my whole life.
And pretty much, but the custom thing, has that always been something that followed you?
I think I was probably affected by where I grew up, which was just over the river from Barris and Gaylord and all those guys.
Oh, that would do it.
And there tended to be, and in that era, there tended to be young guys driving around with mildly customized cars and hot rods. And I was caught up in it. It just made sense to me from the earliest days. And I was the kid who always walked around with a rubber car stuck in his pocket. Never left home without it.
To pick the 54 to customize, I mean, I think that's such a great car to begin with.
I wanted it to look like it had just been touched with a magic wand and become chopped and pearlized and all that. So.
Well, I always love these cars. I mean, 54, 56, that whole era of Merc, I think is really nice, and I love how they ride.
Yeah.
They just got that, you know, that kind of float along feel anyway.
Yeah, they were into comfort in Detroit in those days. I think maybe it spanked them later, but
But those were the days. That pearlescent yellow is just to die for, and you know that is pretty close to the Merc yellow. I've seen other Mercs very close to this, but not with the pearlescent pop.
Nope. That, once again, it favors its original livery. So
Yeah. I just have to run through the gears one more time. Oh, I just love this. And again, a 3 on the tree. That is so cool. You know, sort of the downside of resto modding, which is great because it takes, you know, these great, beautiful cars and turns them into, you know, modern day performers. But you completely lose that experience of driving a 54 car.
that's right.
And this is like driving a 54 car.
Well, you can't have a Civil War reenactment and wear modern uniforms.
It just wouldn't be right. It just wouldn't be right. Welcome back to My Classic Car. That Merc is really one sweet car.
Thank you.
Custom of the 50s, let's talk about a custom done on a car of the 60s, the Riv.
Custom out of the box, just like the 54 Merc was, but I think they'd gotten a little better at it in 10 years and made it easier on us. We didn't have to do as much to please me anyway.
Now, did a Riv play a role in your life somewhere, and that's why you came up with this one, or?
There was the guy in high school that was maybe a year or two older than me that had a new 63 Riviera when they were brand new. Skylark wires on it, slammed on the ground, great sound system, and he was the man.
He was the man. So you said, I got to have one of those.
Yeah, it took me till I was 200 years old to be him.
But lo and behold. Well, this is really cool, and you've again done, I think, a really tasteful, mild job on this. You've lowered it down. With the Merc, you use more old school techniques. Is this more of is this an air spring
This
car?
is on air springs.
And you went with the Skylark wires on yours too?
Right. Now, in the old days, his were 6-inch, which were stock Skylark wires. These are 7s, and we thought another inch of depth would fill the wheel well a little better. And
They look, I mean, they look great. And you've done a little bit of treatment in the front. Not too much, but you've done something with the grille.
Just a little. We've done some paint work on the grille, so it has the illusion of just horizontal bars. And we removed the front license plate, took a little bit of sheet metal work to get that, so we feel like the thing is as basically streamlined as it can be aesthetically in the front.
What a wild front end, and you know, and these clamshell lights.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But it looks so extreme. And then you've got an interesting color on it. That's certainly not a Riv color.
No, we needed something that would complement a green interior because it had a nice green interior when we started with it. So we discovered on a rainy day a new BMW drove by and the sun came out and it just kind of struck me. And so I ran to the BMW dealer and got a color chart and went to the painter with it.
That was it. So it's kind of a silver, but it's got some green in it.
Yep.
And
Glacier Green Metallic.
Wow. And it had this color, this deep green interior
Yes.
to begin with, huh? Oh, yeah, that's a lot of green in there.
That is. That is.
And the wood in these, if I'm correct, that's real wood. It's not just a applique or
It's
something,
not
right?
just a veneer or anything. It's, I don't know how thick it is, but it's the real wood, and we just keep putting oil on it, all the, maintenance things it needs to keep it looking pretty sharp. So I don't suppose we'll ever have to replace it.
Shrunken head, that's a nice touch.
My wife doesn't think so, but you and I do so.
But you know what's interesting with as custom as this car is, Boy, the gauging is GM of the period. It's
Yeah.
Mostly idiot lights, one gauge with the gas gauge, and that's about it. You know, you haven't done a heck of a lot, though, to make it look this cool. You've debadged it, you've shaved the handles, but that's about it, right?
That's about all it took.
Even, because looking at this back, this looks so custom. This was, all you did was take the badges off here? There's no
Yeah.
other work there?
Well, the preceding 2 years of this car, the 64 and 63, had these tail lamps up in the body.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And they
yeah.
did us a favor by putting them in the bumper this year, so once the Riviera was taken off the back of it, it became customized.
It's smooth,
Yeah.
you know, and it's just so slick looking. Now this stock engine too, you had what,
It's a 401.
Oh, okay. And
It's a dual quad 401.
They also had the 425, but this is a dual quad 401.
Dual
Still
quad
sucks
401.
plenty of gas.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure.
it can do that.
Yeah.
And I probably don't need a 425. It'll get us out of our tracks pretty well, but it's just a basic stock.
Basic
deal.
Buick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you're looking at. And this is a car that, I mean, this is one you just play with, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the rotation. We just drive it when we want to go somewhere.
You know, I'd like to go somewhere.
You want to drive?
I want to drive.
All right, let's go.
Let's do this one. Let's see how that dual quad 401 works. Welcome back to My Classic Car. This is another one though, like you said with the Merc. This is one that came out of the factory pretty custom looking.
They didn't require much. I think the designers in that era were influenced that people were taking their work and modifying it, maybe in some cases making it better. So they were challenged, and on particular models they didn't have some of the 50s excess.
Yeah, over the top stuff.
Yeah, I guess probably the 54 Merc and the 65 Riv probably bracketed that era of excess.
I love this car. So now, I mean, obviously you've shaved this and you've put some air suspension on it, but how much other modification have you actually done here?
We haven't done much. I mean, we did the cosmetics, was debadge it, get rid of the door handles, re-chromed everything, and got it lowered and went for a ride.
This was a pretty revolutionary car when it came out, actually.
Yeah.
And Buick's always been this sort of, it's always been kind of an interesting brand, you know, it's this luxury brand that always had a lot of punch.
Yeah.
You know, it was like sophisticated muscle. If you look at some of the other sort of throwbacks to true Buickness in this car, another one would be the gun sight hood ornament.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little version of it, but that's still the Buick gun sight,
Yeah, it is.
the bomber sight.
Yeah, it is. We know a guy who's remaking those hood strips without that, and I'm tempted, but the gun sight's still fun.
Oh yeah, that's so Buick.
Yeah. It's fun to look at the GM Auto Show Autorama cars, the futuristic cars, and see where they plucked design elements from them and put them on production cars later.
Ah, what a day. Nothing like cruising low down the boulevard in a couple sweet customs. We didn't break anything, so Mark might even let me come back and check out a few more of his cars. What do you say, Mark?
You're on.
He says I'm on. Yes.